What's up everyone and welcome to another Melee 3.0 edition of Let's Max Warframe. The topic of today's video, the Sepfahn Nikana, possibly one of the strongest synergies right now, as well as quite possibly the most bizarre build. It's going to be a good one, so strap in, sit back and enjoy. The Sepfahn Nikana has always been up there in terms of good melees, especially in Melee 2.0. Since 3.0 came out, not a lot's really changed. But the change of channeling to heavy attacks has opened up a really interesting build for it. One that honestly I did not see coming. So let's start with the Zor itself. Almost the same parts as the Zor dagger actually. The Pi grip, Vargeet 2Gi link, and the Sepfahn as our strike. This is going to give us good base damage. A huge portion of that is slash. Super high crit at 34%, which is important for a heavy attack build. Good speed at nearly 1.1, which is why we went with that link rather than the one that gives us more damage at the cost of speed. Just makes that weapon feel so much nicer to use. And then we have very poor status at only 12%. But status is actually entirely pointless for this, at least on the weapon that is. The reason for using the Sepfahn Nikana over any other Zor for this specific build is because of the guaranteed slash proc on the heavy attack, which is going to tick for some silly numbers if you don't just straight up one-shot something, as well as having one of the highest heavy attack damages out of all of the Zors. Plus, there are other synergies we're going to be putting to work here too. Normally, I'd go into special mechanics and whatnot here, however, this doesn't have any, so let's launch into that build and we're going to go through all of the elements that bring this together. I know the build looks absolutely crazy, but bear with me, it does all make sense. Starting with the stance. The stance is actually completely irrelevant in this case. The heavy attacks are all the same, whether it's stanceless or any of the stances. We've got prime pressure point on here since we're not building up any status effects on the target, so condition overload is basically going to do nothing. Prime reach helps land the hits from the heavy attack. Plus, since follow through is a thing, you can hit multiple targets per swing, which helps it feel a lot nicer to use. Sacrificial Steel for the 440% critical chance on a heavy attack. We've got Amalgam Organ Shatter on there for our crit damage as well as speeding up those heavy attacks. Berserker for attack speed on crits. Basically makes the weapon feel a lot more usable, quite a bit faster. Corrupt Charge is going to give us basically a constant 2x combo multiplier, which doubles our damage. Killing Blow to increase our heavy attack damage by 120%, and then Gladiator Might to increase our crit damage that bit more. But wait, there's more! Exodia Brave, an arcane that was rarely used in Melee 2.0, is absolutely crazy on this. For each kill, it will give 5 energy per second for 4 seconds. But it gets better. That can stack up to 3 times. So while you're killing efficiently with this, you can keep your energy going even on the most inefficient frames. The chroma footage you're seeing, I have no rage on here whatsoever. And it's basically a 45% efficiency build. And while that did become a problem when the weapon fell off at about level 280, until then, I was at full energy the entire time. And this can work insanely well with frames that use quick thinking as a tank, like my Mirage or Nova, and can give them some amazing extra survivability. But that's not the end of the synergy either. Daikyu in the primary slot, mostly as a holder for the Amalgam Daikyu Target Acquired mod. That gives us 3% lifesteal on every single hit, which includes heavy attacks. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when your heavy attacks are hitting for crazy damage, tens of thousands, this thing will keep even an Inaros fully topped off at all times. And then finally we go with Zenuric for our focus skull for inner might, and that's going to make our charge attacks use less of that 2x bonus from Corrupt Charge. If we attack too quickly without Zenuric, it's likely that Corrupt Charge hasn't had time to build up that double damage again, meaning it only has about a 50% uptime, and that means it's only doing double damage half of the time, which is a bit annoying. Switching to Inner Might lessens the loss from your heavy attack and allows Corrupt Charge to build up and is active on every single heavy attack. It's effectively another 50% damage increase over not having Zenuric, which is a really nice thing to have. So that's a lot of synergy, and a lot of things to build for, but what does it all mean in practice? Well, amusingly enough for the actual gameplay, it isn't more than spamming our heavy attacks. It does have enough damage to use the weapon combos normally if you want to, but the heavies is where it all comes together. And the effect of all that synergy is that it's basically like toggling on God mode. A literal full heal on every single heavy attack, no matter what frame you're on. Literally max energy at all times, allowing you to run some crazy inefficient builds on frames that don't disable energy regen, and then enough damage to one-shot basically anything you're going to come up against in even the tier 5 Lich missions and beyond, even if you're not buffing it to hell and back with frames like Chrome or Mirage. In fact, here's an unbuffed Mirage demolishing a few heavy gunners, so you can see what it does on frames that don't have 1,000,000,000% more damage. If you'd have told me a couple of weeks ago that this build, which honestly is possibly the dumbest looking build I've ever posted on this channel, well, except maybe the old channeling Dragon Nikana back in the day, but we don't talk about that. Just don't care about anything really. No elementals? No problem. Who needs them? This thing is just stacking damage on top of damage and then one-shotting the world. And the nice thing is that while the double crit ribbons that most people had for the Zors in Melee 2.0 are kinda pointless for combo builds right now because of the change to Blood Rush and the way that works, they work amazingly well on this thing. I recommend that as the ideal ribbon for this thing. I have a double crit minus impact ribbon for mine, which is so damn good. There's a couple of things to change depending on your circumstances. If you're running frames that buff your base damage of your weapon, things like Chroma, because of the way his damage buff works, drop Prime Pressure Point and put either Primed Fury in there, or oddly enough, Spring-Loaded Blade. The only problem right now is that while Spring-Loaded actually makes the weapon feel even nicer to use, and the wide arcs of those heavy attacks hit a lot of things with it, enemies currently that die in a single hit, even if that hit would have proc stakers, like a heavy attack, so we've got the guaranteed slash, they will not proc Spring-Loaded. This means honestly, if you're doing anything star chart, it's really not worth running right now, so I'd go with the Prime Fury instead. If you wanted to change out your primary and use your Nikana only for emergency heals, you could always drop Prime Reach for Life Strike. That frees up your primary weapon for absolutely anything that you want. So that's pretty much this Zor Nikana for you. Almost literal God mode from one of the most synergistic and stupidest looking setups I've ever posted on the channel. Sometimes out of the box is nice for things, but they rarely end up being that good. This, however, is a little bit ridiculous just how amazing this thing is. It's absolutely worth building and putting the former into. It's got so many uses and opens up so many builds on its own that it's going to be quite an important weapon for some builds for quite a while to come. So I hope you enjoyed this look at the Nikana Zor heavy attack build. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below and what you're looking forward to trying to do with it if you do build it. I have a literal shopping list of weapons I actually want to try and look for builds for. I'm sort of steering clear of weapons without special mechanics or synergies just for the time being, although those will get their time soon. I have so much motivation to bring these videos out to you right now, and I hope that you enjoy them. But for now, huge thanks for the support. Hit that like button, sub, and hit the bell if you're looking for more Warframe content, and I shall catch you in the next one.